Welcome back to my kitchen, friend. Today and tomorrow, we are going to be making one of the most decadent sandwiches ever. It is strawberry season around here, and that means I need to make strawberry jam. We are going to be making strawberry jam a new way this year. I make it every year, and this year I am going to make it using Pomona's Pectin, and we're going to use about half as much sugar as I normally do, and I think it's going to be absolutely delicious. Tomorrow I need to go pick up strawberries from a local farmer. I'm going to get 2 flats, so we are going to be making a ton of jam. I need to make basically a year's worth, and I thought peanut butter and jelly sandwich is one of my absolute favorite sandwiches. And we're not going to make this just with ordinary sandwich bread. We are going to make it with brioche bread. If you've ever been to Trader Joe's with me in the summer, I always buy their brioche bread, and I love to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with it. It makes the best. But this year I thought, or not this year, today we are going to attempt to make brioche bread from scratch. This recipe has hundreds of reviews and it has 5 stars, and so we are going to make this recipe. I will link it down below for you. I have made brioche one other time with okay success, and I think that's because I did not let it slowly ferment in the refrigerator overnight. This recipe says you need to slowly ferment it in the fridge overnight, so that's what we're gonna do. I'm pulling out my KitchenAid because the recipe says that the way you know the dough has kneaded long enough is when you pick up the dough hook, the dough clings to the hook. And I haven't used my KitchenAid in a long time, and we're gonna use it today. I'm gonna follow this recipe exactly. She says measure out all your ingredients, so I'm gonna do that. She says to do that before you get started. So we're gonna do that. I normally don't do that, and I am gonna weigh my ingredients. She has both written and, not written. It is 6 o'clock when we're getting started. Normally I do these types of projects in the morning. She has it in metrics and just cups and teaspoons and tablespoons. So whatever you're more comfortable with, you can click that. One other thing we're gonna make, we are going to make pistachio butter. So it's gonna be a strawberry pistachio peanut butter and jelly sandwich on brioche bread that we are going to grill on the stove. Now, if you've never had a grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich before, you are missing out. I've only ever done it with sourdough, but I think it's gonna be delicious with brioche. And we're gonna try using, I found these dry roasted, salted pistachios in my freezer. They've been in my freezer for a while. So when I was coming up with this kind of fun, creative thing to do, I thought, let's try making pistachio butter, because that's just gonna elevate this peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now we're gonna try this together, and maybe I would prefer just a plain peanut butter and jelly sandwich because it is my favorite sandwich, but time will tell. And about 18 hours, because this has to sit in the fridge for at least 8 up to 24. So here's most of my ingredients. I need to get a few more out. Salt and a scale. The first thing we're gonna do is actually warm up our milk. I have some softened butter. I did have to soften in, actually the milk we need to measure out in milliliters, which I've never done that before. And I need to look at the recipe. We need 120 milliliters of milk. And brioche bread is a very, very highly enriched bread. That doesn't seem like very much milk. Probably because we're gonna be putting tons of eggs and stuff into it. I just looked up it in US customary or US measurements, and that's a half a cup. So I'm gonna add a little bit more. My measuring thing doesn't have 120 milliliters. I'm gonna go warm this up with just a little bit of honey. So there's honey, there's eggs, there's butter, there's milk. It is about as rich of a bread as you can get. So into the microwave this goes. I think I warmed this up way too warm. We're at 118 degrees. 120 degrees. I'm gonna pop this in the microwave for just a minute while I measure out some of the other ingredients before I add the yeast, because I don't want to kill my yeast. I'm not used to warming up that little of milk for a bread recipe, so I went a little bit overboard with it. Now we need 9 grams of active dry yeast, which is quite a bit. Set that aside. We need a bigger container for our eggs, and I think this is where most of the moisture is coming from. I don't need a scale for the eggs. And we need large eggs, so we need 5 large eggs and 1 egg yolk. I'm going to pick out the largest eggs here. 3, 4, 5, and then 1 egg yolk. I'll give that to my dogs. They love egg whites. I'm going to add my salt to my eggs. I'm just going to eyeball that one along with my vanilla. This would make the most delicious French toast as well. That's what I love to do with the Trader Joe's brioche bread that I buy, is turn it into French toast and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. This recipe also calls for sugar. Got a little excited there on the sugar. There we go, perfect. I think our milk probably has cooled down enough at this point. We're right at 100 degrees, so that's plenty cool now. As I'm mixing this, I had a panic moment thinking, what is that brown stuff in this eggs? It's the vanilla I just added. Okay, so our yeast is hydrating. We have vanilla, eggs, sugar. We need butter. We need very soft, this is very soft now, 250 grams. That is 232 grams. So she said it's 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons. And that's 200 and, oh, you know what, I'm gonna leave that little bit because obviously that paper is still on there and that's gonna take up a little bit of the weight. And then I need to cut these into tablespoons. This bread is going to take quite some time to knead because there is so much fat in it between the egg yolks and all of this butter. It's gonna take, and the milk has fat in it. It's gonna take quite a bit of time to develop the gluten. So my KitchenAid, I don't use for bread making very much because it just doesn't have a very strong motor, but this isn't a huge amount of dough, so I think it should be okay. Normally I use my Bosch when I make bread, but because she said you don't really want to go off the time with the kneading, you want to go off when it's showing you that it's ready. And one way she said it's ready is when you pull the hook up and the dough comes with it. I figured I better go ahead and use this since I have it. Okay, I think I have all of my ingredients except my flour. Milk, yeast, honey, eggs, egg yolks, vanilla, sugar, all-purpose flour, salt, and butter. I've read this recipe once. I'm just reading, actually I've read it twice, but I'm reading it again to kind of I can't figure out where it says to add, oh, right there. Add the flour. So we need to add all of this to our mixer. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and just measure out my flour right now because we still are waiting for our yeast to get foamy. I can definitely tell it's starting to get foamy. It's very happy in that milk honey mixture. The nice thing about this recipe is that it calls for all-purpose flour. So most of these ingredients are all ingredients that I always have on hand, and I think most of us do. Eggs, yeast, milk, butter, sugar, vanilla, salt, and all-purpose flour as opposed to like a bread flour. And I didn't even look, how many loaves is this supposed to make? It says 30 slices, so I'm assuming it makes 2 loaves. Yes, butter, 2 8.5 by 4 inch pans. Now that we have all of our ingredients ready to go, we can assemble this dough. She has very specific orders in which to do things, so I'm gonna read this one more time. And it looks like at this point we can just add all of our ingredients. And this is nice and foamy. So all the ingredients are now incorporated basically. I'm gonna turn it on and just let it knead for about, it says 2 to 5 minutes. And then we will start adding all of our butter. It looks a little bit runny to me, but I'm gonna trust the process. I was planning on making my pistachio butter tomorrow, but this has to knead for 5 minutes now, and then every time we incorporate some of this butter, it has to knead for another 2 to 3 minutes. So we're looking at about 25 minutes worth of knead time here. This pistachio butter is gonna take some time as well. So I think we're just gonna get that going at the same time. And I was going back and forth whether I was gonna use my blender or my food processor. And I landed on my blender. So we're going to blend up these pistachios. I haven't decided if I'm gonna sweeten it yet. We're just gonna have to see. This right here is a complete experiment to me. So I've got 12 ounces, I think, give or take, of pistachios here. And I'm just gonna start blending while this is kneading. I'm gonna start on low and I'm gonna work my way up. I'm pretty sure this is gonna take some time as well. Right now, it basically just looks like breadcrumbs. Last time I tried making Nutella from scratch, I gave up on it because it just didn't, it always looked kind of grainy like this. And so many of you, this was years ago, this was when I was pregnant with my son. So many of you said I just needed to let it keep going for longer than you would expect. And I have never attempted to try to make any sort of homemade Nutella or butters or anything like that since then. And so this is the first time. So we're gonna see if we can redeem a 3-year-old project. And that was obviously with hazelnuts, and this is pistachios, and I can already see that this is starting to cream. I think if I had used a few more pistachios, it would be easier for the blender. But I'm just gonna have to stop it every few minutes and scrape down the sides. It smells good. I am in love with pistachios right now. I'm kind of on a pistachio kick. Okay, that's already turning into butter. So it's only been a minute and a half. Super easy compared to hazelnuts, I guess. Or maybe I used my food processor when I was trying to make the Nutella. Maybe I needed to use the power of the Vitamix. Yeah, that's already basically butter at this point. That was easy. Well, that was easy. So easy, I might go grab the peanuts that I have in my freezer that I got to make some Christmas candy with and never did. And I stuck them in my freezer and they've been sitting in there. Maybe we should try making homemade peanut butter. My favorite peanut butter is the Costco Kirkland peanut butter. I love it. And all it has in it is peanuts. Ooh, there's a ton up here. So if you do this, make sure you scrape up here because you don't want any of that to go to waste. Well, that was way easier than I was anticipating and went so quick that I wasn't even ready to add my butter to this yet. I turned it off just so that it would be quiet for a second. I'm gonna get this in here. And this has such good flavor. It doesn't need to be salted or anything because I used dry roasted salted pistachios, which kind of was nice because if I had used raw pistachios, I would have had to go through the effort of roasting them first, and it was just nice to be able to basically just put them in the blender. And if you sweeten this, it would be more like pistachio cream. So if you've had the Dubai chocolates, or if you've made anything Dubai chocolate inspired, you use pistachio cream, and that's pretty heavily sweetened, basically pistachio butter. And this is gonna take me a minute. I'm gonna go through and really work on trying to get every bit of this pistachio butter out of this blender because it is highly valuable. So I'm gonna turn this back on. The hardest part of this recipe, or this process, it's not much of a recipe, is just cleaning and getting all of it out of the blender. So here's our pistachio butter. I'm gonna go ahead and put the lid on this. If you wanted to, you could definitely sweeten this, but I think because we're gonna be making this into a peanut butter jelly sandwich with this really sweet and rich dough and our jam, we don't need to do that. But what we're gonna do next, so we can see that we definitely are getting some gluten formation here. We need to incorporate this butter in 4 different sections, and it's gonna take about 3 to 5 minutes to incorporate. So we're gonna turn it on, and we're gonna put 1/4 of the butter in at a time, and we're gonna let this just knead until all the butter is incorporated, and we're gonna do this 4 times. We're not gonna add any more butter until this is incorporated. And it's gonna take a while. I may have added a little too much that time. I may have needed to use my Bosch. Mine, I think, needs to be like calibrated or something. I haven't used it in a long time. But that butter is starting to get incorporated. I just added the last of the butter, and the dough is definitely starting to look a little bit different. It said after you add the last of the butter, it probably is gonna need another like 10 minutes to knead. So I'm just gonna let this knead until a dough ball forms. I actually let this knead without it being on the lock setting, and I think that was working better. It was picking up from the bottom. I'm gonna let this knead for just a bit longer, and then I think we're gonna call this done. Yeah, you can see how it's starting to scrape away from the bowl. I think that's what you want right there. All right, this thing is going crazy, but I think I'm gonna, shouldn't have picked it up yet. I think I'm happy with how that's looking. Let's get it back into a ball. Okay, there, it's in a ball. And it's basically staying in a ball. It's super sticky, but super light. It's not sticking to my hands. I mean, there's so much butter in this, but we are gonna call that good, I think. I did add probably 1/4 cup of flour to it because I think my eggs were probably extra large. And that was the one thing that was not listed, was the eggs in weight. And that's the biggest variable. If you think about it, I mean, flour's pretty big variable too, depending on how compacted and how you scoop it if you don't weigh it. But eggs can obviously come in different sizes and shapes, especially backyard chicken eggs. They come in all different sizes and shapes. So I did add some flour. I think it was a good call. Let me get a little oil on my hands. I'm loving this spray bottle, by the way. If you're with me, I bought 2 of them to kind of like product test, which I had never done before, like actual product testing, and that has been so far the winner out of the 2. You just refill it with avocado oil or whatever kind of oil. You could use vegetable oil or olive oil or whatever you want, and I'm using avocado. But I'm gonna get this into a dough ball, and what we're gonna do is let this rise for 1 hour at room temp. This is like the most silkiest dough. This definitely is, I'm calling this special occasion because strawberries are my absolute favorite fruit, and before I had kids, I really only ever bought them 1 time a year, and it's this time of year. So I'm celebrating the strawberry harvest. Now that I have a 3-year-old, I do buy strawberries more than just when they're in season, but this bread with how much butter and eggs and just how rich and decadent, it's definitely like a special occasion bread. I wouldn't make this every week, but I think strawberry season is worth celebrating. and my KitchenAid is pretty toasty. It is excited for a little bit of a break. I'm gonna get this soaking. I need to get a little bit of plastic wrap on here. I didn't want to add too much flour because the more flour you add to any dough, the denser it will become. But I did not think that it was going to form a ball if I didn't add a little bit more flour because my eggs were just so big. This is going to rise for about an hour. There's quite a bit of yeast in it, so I think it's going to rise pretty quickly. And while this is rising, I want to thank today's sponsor. You all have seen me use this griddle all the time. I use it every week. It lives on my counter. This is a Carbon Steel Griddle by Pectin. One thing I love about this Carbon Steel Griddle is that it is big, long, and rectangle, so I can put 8 eggs, 8 pieces of French toast, 8 English muffins, 2 tortillas, 2 pita breads. You see me use this all the time, and I absolutely love it. I love how long it is, so you can fit more than one thing on it at a time, multiple things. And the cool thing about this is that it's carbon steel, which is basically the same 2 elements that make up cast iron, but the ratio is a little bit different, and so it's lighter than cast iron. Now, there's still definitely some heft to it, but it's much lighter than cast iron. I used to have a cast iron griddle, and I never used it because it was so heavy to drag in and out of where I would store it, and this can just live here, and it's easy to use. It can go up to 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, so you can use this on a campfire, which I have yet to do, but I think would be really fun. You could use it on a grill, but mine just basically lives here. So if you are interested in any of Pectin's products, they have a whole stainless steel line that I have that is amazing. Their carbon steel griddle. They've got some dishes and fun things for the kitchen. Go ahead and click the first link down below and you can shop their products. I want to thank you for being here. Because you are here, I was able to partner with a company like Pectin, and I absolutely love this. So if you purchase this, I do not think you will regret it. I use this multiple times a week. So what we're going to do is let this sit here because I'm not using this until tomorrow. We are going to be grilling our grilled cheese sandwich on this, and it's going to be delicious. But I am basically going to let this sit here and rise for 1 hour or so. The one thing when you're working with yeast, it's very hard to go off the time when you're looking for something to rise because your kitchen temperature can make a big difference in how something rises. When I was pregnant, I would keep my kitchen in the 60s, like 66 degrees, because I was so hot all the time. So when I was making bread, it would take twice as long to rise versus now I keep my kitchen at about 70 degrees, 71 degrees, depending on if I'm cooking a ton, then I might drop the temperature. But right now it's relatively nice and comfortable temperature, room temperature in here. So this will rise probably in about an hour, and then I will show you what we will be doing with it next. It is now 7 o'clock. I usually am not in the kitchen this late. I'm gonna go change into comfy clothes and hang out with my family while this rises, and then we will be back to show you what we need to do next to this dough. All right, we just had dinner, and I think this has risen well enough. It is gonna have quite a bit of time in the fridge to rise. So what we're supposed to do is actually flatten this down. Well, I guess it didn't rise a ton, but I'm not that worried about it. I am ready to put this in the fridge and kind of be done for the night. So I'm just going to fold this up on itself. And you're supposed to have a tight ball. You're supposed to put it on a floured surface, but I don't think that's necessary. I think I'm just going to make it into a nice tight ball. Cover it. Pop this in the fridge, and I will see you back tomorrow after I go pick up the strawberries from a local farm. Well, I'm not actually going to the local farm. There is a man who sells strawberries on the side of the road, and they are the most delicious strawberries from a local farm. And so I'm going to save my recipe. I'll just leave this here. I'm gonna pop this in the fridge. My goal is to get up early. I need to put some jars in the dishwasher to wash and get my strawberries, and that's it. And I will see you back tomorrow. This is going straight in the fridge. I just got home from the gym and I was able to pick up some beautiful, beautiful strawberries on the way home. And I have not showered yet, but our dough needs to rise for at least 2 hours. So before I go shower, we're gonna take advantage of this time, get our dough shaped and rising while I shower and get ready. Oh my goodness, look how beautiful this is. Now it's pretty firm now. I mean, if you think about it, there is over a cup of butter in this. And so we've got a nice firm dough we can work with at this point. And I need to weigh it because it really wants you to have 2 equal loaves. Very firm at this point. I think it's going to take a little longer than 2 hours to rise. Josh, what is low battery. 1359.
It's 680.
680. Okay, thanks. Oh, 688. Close. $6.83. I think we'll call that good. So I'm going to roll this into a rectangle. First, flatten it into a rectangle. I have this smooth side down because I want that to be my top. And I'm just going to shape this how I would just like a sandwich loaf. In the recipe, there's directions on how to braid it or do different shapes, but because I want to turn this into sandwiches, I'm just going to do a simple sandwich loaf. This is a very unique dough to work with. I don't think I've ever worked with a dough with this texture before. And I'm going to cut this parchment paper in half because we're going to use this to line our baking pans. I'm just going to super interesting. It almost feels like a Play-Doh. So I wanted that smooth top to be the top. And then I am going to grease this. I have to say this is a very satisfying dough to work with, but it's definitely a different kind of dough. I'm going to cover these with plastic wrap, and these are going to take at least 2 hours to rise. And I'm going to let them rise just on the counter at room temp. I think because they have so much butter in them, I don't want to put them in my oven. I was going to have them rise in my oven with the oven light on, but I don't want to rise them or warm them up too quickly because of the butter in it. So I'll just set it over here, and we'll come back to this after I have gotten ready for the day. I actually have to make one more dough because we're going to have this for brunch, and then for dinner we're going to have a different kind of sandwich. So today is a sandwich kind of day, and they're both going to be very decadent and delicious sandwiches. I am now ready for the day, and we are going to start on our strawberry jam. I'm just pulling out the pot here, and I think I have all of the components we need to start the strawberry jam. Normally, if you've been with me for any length of time, well, if you've been with me during strawberry season, you know that this is the strawberry or the pectin that I usually use to make our strawberry jam. It is a low sugar pectin, but it still uses, I believe, 4 cups of sugar for every 5 cups of fruit. But I want to try using a lower sugar pectin, so we're going to use this Pomona's pectin. I used this for the first time when we made some blackberry jam, and for 4 cups of fruit, it uses anywhere from 1/2 cup to 2 cups of sugar. So I think we're gonna, I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but we're definitely going to be using a lower sugar because that blackberry jam was absolutely delicious, but I still think it didn't have to be as sweet as it was, and I used 4 cups of fruit and 2 cups of sugar. So I haven't decided how much sugar we're gonna use for this strawberry jam yet, but I know it's gonna be less than 2 cups for 4 cups of fruit. These strawberries are incredibly sweet. This variety right here is called Hoods, and they are one of the sweetest strawberries. A container has already been eaten, and snacked on. So I'm hoping I bought enough for a year's worth of strawberry jam. I have 1/2 pint left down in my pantry, and I think this is going to be enough, but I don't know. Strawberry jam is our favorite. We use strawberry jam in a lot of things. We use it to make like strawberry Pop-Tarts. I use it for the filling. I use it to sweeten non-fat Greek yogurt or full-fat Greek yogurt, basically plain Greek yogurt I buy, and then we sweeten it with this. We put this on pancakes, waffles, French toast, all sorts of things. Just regular toast, but they do need to be washed. And we've got to get the tops off. I'm really excited to try making a lower sugar version because these strawberries are so sweet. I just don't think they need all that sugar. Okay, I need another big bowl. I'm gonna bring this over here. What's gonna be the longest process to get done today is actually taking the tops off of these. I went ahead and I turned the AC on in my kitchen because I knew I'd be probably getting kind of warm in here. So I put this dough in my oven with the oven light on because my kitchen was going to get pretty cold, and so I wanted this to rise in a little bit warmer environment than what my kitchen will be. Now, I do have strawberries growing in my garden, but we basically just eat those strawberries fresh. They are starting to really come in now at this point, and we're getting about 10 a day. So nowhere at this point near enough that I can grow to put up strawberries, but maybe one day that would be a cool goal, but we're not there yet. I'm gonna wear gloves just so my hands don't get completely stained, and I have to figure out how I wanna do this. I feel like I need a third bowl for the tops. Actually, I could just put them in this box. I'm gonna really try hard to not leave any fruit behind on the stem. I'm just gonna try to pull off the little stem there because these are so good. I don't want to waste any of them, and they are not cheap. These are pretty expensive. So I want to really try to get all of the fruit as possible. This has been a tradition that I have been doing with my mom since I was probably in junior high. Putting strawberries up into jam has been a tradition my mom and I started when I was probably in like junior high. Local in-season strawberries have always been my favorite fruit. And my mom definitely was not a canner or anything like that, but we would always stop at the fruit stands when fruit season comes around in our area. On the way to Costco, there was always about 5 different fruit stands that would just pop up on the side of the road. And my favorite thing is to buy local strawberries, and probably in like 7th grade, maybe 8th grade, my mom and I started turning the strawberries into jam. We didn't can it, we would make freezer jam, which I still love freezer jam. But I started canning it when I started making it on my own, and this has just been a tradition. So every year, come strawberry season, I invest in quite a few strawberries and I turn it into jam, and it's not only my favorite, but it's also Josh's favorite. So it's something that I will continue to do, but because they are an investment, I want to make sure I'm just pulling off the stems. So I'm not using a knife or anything, I just use my fingernail to kind of pull it off and try to save as much fruit as possible. One year I took these strawberry stems and I turned it into strawberry vinegar, and that was kind of a fun project. But this year I'll just give these to my chickens and they will be happy for it. And this is definitely going to be the longest part of this whole endeavor. So I'm trying to decide how many I want to save for fresh eating. We've already eaten quite a few of them, but I still have strawberries coming in off my plants. Some of my strawberry plants are just starting to produce because I planted 2 different varieties of strawberries. One that's ever-bearing, so throughout the whole growing season, they'll continue to produce fruit. And then some that are June-bearing, so they will produce fruit once, and then they will be done for the season. So I'm thinking I'm gonna turn most of this into jam. Maybe I'll save 2 pints. The thing with these local berries is they have the shelf life of absolutely nothing. These were picked this morning, and if they're not dealt with within a day, max 2, they start to go bad. So maybe I'll just keep like 1 or 2 pints. We'll have it for dessert tonight. And then we'll just keep eating the fresh fruit off of our plants that we have out in the garden. That's the one thing with buying these local strawberries is you have to buy them the day they're picked, and you have to make sure you set aside time to deal with them the day you buy them, or they will go bad on you. Even just washing them kind of bruises them, but that's okay because we're going to be mashing them up anyway. And then I have some raspberries that I bought and I did not get to using them, so I threw them in the freezer. And I think I'm gonna rinse those off and throw them in here too, because I made strawberry raspberry jam last year and it was so good. I don't mind if I add a few raspberries into this. I don't even think it'll be enough to taste the raspberries, but it'll just get them out of my freezer and get them used up. So these are organic, which is kind of hard to find in my area, so I was really excited when he told me they were organic. They didn't charge me any more for the hoods versus these ones. These ones are not quite as sweet. I mean, they're still extremely sweet. So I bought some hoods for the flavor, but then I'm doing the majority of them in this organic strawberries. He did tell me the variety of these, but I cannot remember. These ones are not near as soft as the hoods, but they're still really, really good. I don't usually get any of the strawberries that are coming off my strawberry plants. I've had a couple. So I think I've decided I'm gonna keep out 2 pints and I'll kind of save those back for me just for dessert tonight and for breakfast in the morning. So that means what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna go get these 4 pints washed and the other 2 pints in the refrigerator. I definitely don't wanna wash these till right before I eat them because that will make them go bad faster in my fridge. I got all of them topped, and then I did throw in the fresh raspberries that I had thrown in the freezer in here. And I remembered I had these frozen raspberries too in my other freezer, and they've been in there for a while. And I thought, you know what, let's put those out of the freezer and we'll mix them in with this jam, and it will be just delicious to have a bit of raspberry. I will leave the seeds from the strawberries in the jam, but I don't want all the seeds from the raspberries in the jam. There will be a few raspberry seeds from the other raspberries I put in here, but these ones, I will just take a second to run through a fine mesh sieve. These were completely frozen, and I did go ahead and microwave them so that I could run them through this sieve easier. I do have a food mill, but I think for how few raspberries I have here, I didn't feel like getting the food mill out and then having to clean it because there's so many more parts versus just using this fine mesh sieve. And then I'm not sure, when I made the blackberry jam, it was 4 cups per batch. And I'm not sure with strawberry and raspberry how much I need per batch. But this is gonna take me a second just to run this through. The raspberries I have found, because strawberry jam has always been Josh and I's favorite, but the addition of some raspberries to it, it kind of balances out that sweetness and makes just for a little bit more complex flavor. which I really like because it obviously has a little bit more tartness to it. Now what I'm gonna do, that I've got all those raspberries sieved, is I'm just going to crush up the berries with my hands. They'll get more crushed and broken down when we cook them, but I'm just gonna do an initial crush like this. I have found this to be the easiest way to do it. I don't like it completely pureed, so that's why I don't use a immersion blender. Some years I've done that in the past, and we prefer a little bit more texture. But a potato masher doesn't quite get us the texture we want. So I have found that if I just do an initial mash with my hands, and then they cook down in the pot, that gets us to a good texture. Josh and I had a little miscommunication on what type and size of jars I would like.
Oops.
He was getting it ready for me while I was on my way to the gym and things. And the only jars that were ran through the dishwasher are pints, which I'm happy to do pints, but I also like to do a lot of half pints because I give a lot of this away as gifts. And I like to do half pints for us just so that we can go through them quicker, but also when I give them as gifts, I like half pints because then I can give away more. So he's going to unload the dishwasher, you're totally fine. And he's going to wash a bunch. I just pulled out a ton, probably 15 half pints, and he's gonna get those washed by hand. I normally like doing it in the dishwasher just because it's less work. But I need to go downstairs and get a bunch of sugar, so I'm gonna look this up while he's getting those dishes done, and I will run down. You're fine, Josh.
Oh, it's loud.
Oh, it's loud, okay. Let's see, raspberry. So I was just reading this recipe over before I go down and get the sugar. And I thought, you know what, since Josh is right here, I'm gonna ask him what he wants because this is his favorite jam. I don't want to not make it delicious. So the first time I used Pomona's Pectin, I used the least amount of sugar. And so it was 4 cups of fruit to 3/4 cups of sugar. And sugar is not only a flavor enhancer, but it also is a color preservative. So when I did the low sugar, the color of the jam was like this weird purple brown color versus a nice bright, vibrant red. So traditional jam is like 7 cups of sugar to 6 cups of fruit. The low sugar Sure Gel is 5 cups of fruit to 4 cups of sugar. And Pomona's Pectin is 4 cups of fruit, and you can do 3/4 of a cup of sugar to 2 cups of sugar. So I was asking Josh, how much sugar should I add?
So right now, what you did last time is essentially 4 cups of sugar for 5 cups of fruit, which is 4/9 sugar, which is like 0.44%.
Okay.
Or sorry, 44%.
I'm not following the math, so I'm just saying And then, but.
4 divided by 9 is 0.44, so it's 44%.
Okay.
If we're at the max range of the Pomona Pectin, you said 2 cups of sugar for 4 cups of fruit.
Yeah.
That would be 2/6, which is 33%.
So that's.
So I feel like that's probably the most reasonable cutback, because that's essentially a like 11%
Reduction in sugar.
reduction, but it's really 25% less than what you would normally put in.
Okay.
Roughly.
So we're going to basically do what I did for the blackberry jam, because this is a different fruit. We're going to do 4 cups of fruit to 2 cups of sugar, and then I'm going to do it all that way. Maybe I'll do 1 batch with 1.5 cups.
Why?
Okay, I'm not going to do that. We're going to do the 2 cups, and then.
How much is 1 batch? It just seems like
4 cups.
Then you're having to keep track of which one's
That's
which,
true.
And
it'd be easier not to.
if it's too sweet this year, then next year we'll just remember to reduce again.
Yeah.
Just little by little.
Perfect. Okay. I like that plan. I'm going to go get a bunch of sugar. I confirmed with Josh that he likes just a little texture on his strawberry jam, so I think we're there. They'll cook down a bit when we get them into the pot. And while I was crushing these a little bit more, I went ahead and read the recipe a few more times through. There's just one extra step when it comes to this Pomona's Pectin, is you put a calcium mixture in here, and I already have that made up, so I don't have to make that up today. I'm I'm just gonna mix these together so we have the even fruit distribution. And I'm gonna see how many cups I can get into here. I think I can probably do 2 batches per pot. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 1 batch. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 2 batches. We can get 3 because I have to remember that I have to also put 1 sugar in here. 2, 3, 4. That has 3 batches, which means I'm gonna have to put 6 cups of sugar in here. So I'm gonna measure that out right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And I grabbed some of my dark kitchen towels because I only had white ones in my drawer and I was going to destroy all of them with strawberry and raspberry. This is the calcium water, which I made up last time. I'm gonna shake this really well. And we're gonna add 6 teaspoons of calcium water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I should have measured out my pectin first because we need to add 6 teaspoons of pectin to the sugar. And I'm gonna get this on the stove to boil. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I have more. Let me go grab another box. 6. And I think since I have all of this out, I've got another pot out. I think I can get 1 batch in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's a batch and a half. I'm gonna go scrape this into the other pot. I have 3 batches in here, and on accident put a little extra pectin into this already. I meant to put it into there because I added just a little bit of extra fruit. And we've got 1.5 batches here, and I've got the sugar there. I could have saved a dish and just done my other batches in this pot after, but I want to get all this done at the same time so that I can jar it up all at the same time and I can process it through the water bath canner all at the same time. So that's why I dirtied up another dish. So these need to come to a boil, and then we can add the sugar, and then they need to boil, and then we can get everything jarred up. I think at this point our bread is ready to go into the oven. Thanks, Josh. Look at the color of this dough. It's just absolutely crazy to me how yellow it is. I think I'm gonna call it. It said to let it rise until it almost reached the top, and I think it's definitely doubled in size and almost reached the top. I don't wanna overproof it. Well, it's bouncing back. I think I'm gonna go ahead and bake these. So we're gonna get these into the oven. I have the oven now heated to, oh, not that one. I have my lower oven here heated to 325 degrees. And these need to cook until they reach an internal temperature of 195 to 200. And that's gonna take about 30 minutes. I have my thermometer here, so when I think that bread is done, I can go ahead and take its temperature. Josh got my half pints washed for me, so now I have pints and half pints all washed. He got the dishwasher loaded for me, but he had to go run to do something else. So I am gonna just quickly, because I have a minute, I might as well wash these 3 big dishes that I have here. Put these in the dishwasher. My dishwasher is already full. So we're gonna get that started. I don't wanna get those dirty, but my hands are kind of sticky. So let me wash my hands and then I'm gonna move those jars to where we'll fill our jam when we're ready to fill our jam. That's hot water. I'm gonna use my dark towels to lay down so that I don't completely destroy my lighter towels. I will do some pints, but mostly I want to do half pints. You don't have to sterilize your jars anymore. That's not part of the recommendations, but you do want to make sure they're nice and clean. I obviously wash my jars after every time I use them when I empty them, but I do like to just wash them one more time before I fill them with anything. That's probably more than enough. I do have some more pints if I have extra. And now I'm gonna go ahead and wash these dishes by hand. These are definitely starting to come to a boil, but you want it to come up to enough of a boil so when you stir, you're not stirring away the bubbles. So we're almost there. And this pot's pretty full. By the time I added my 3 cups of sugar, I will need to stand here and stir constantly. And I probably should move this so I don't drip a bunch of jam onto it, because we're gonna need that later. Actually, I need to wash some lids because I don't have any lids washed right now. So let me wash those so we're ready when this is ready. Jars are ready to go. Okay, I gotta turn this down because this is gonna boil over when I add this. Now when you add the sugar, it drops the temperature quite a bit, so it's gonna take a few minutes to come back up to temperature. I think I'm gonna grab a different mixer for the other one because I don't wanna be going back and forth, and I'm gonna need to stand here and mix both of these constantly. Oh my goodness, I can smell it now. The sugar hitting that strawberry mixture, the heat of it, Now, once this comes back up to a rolling boil where I can't stir the bubbles away, I'll set the timer for 1 minute. So I will just be here doing this. I don't want to walk away. I do want to walk away. I have a hard time just watching something boil when I feel like I could be getting something else done, but I'm not going to walk away because I know, especially this pot, if I do, it's going to boil over and I'm going to have a huge mess to clean up. So I'm telling myself this is productive time standing here stirring this because it'll save me time later. I'm going to add a little bit of salt to both of these to balance out the flavor. You don't have to add that if you don't want to. That is not in the recipe. And I just put a piece of foil over top of the brioche bread because I could see it starting to get a little bit of color. And I want to make sure it's done before it fully browns. And the smell of it is incredible. I can no longer stir away the bubbling, so I'm going to set my timer. And this is almost done. I'm going to do a test. I'm going to put a little bit of jam on this plate, pop this into the freezer for a minute, and see if it sets. If it doesn't set, I'll keep boiling these. Okay, we're nowhere near being done. If you've never used a thermometer, yeah, look at that. That's still totally doughy on the inside. If you've never used a thermometer, it's the best way to know when you're done with bread. There's no guessing. Oh yeah, it's set. Taste it. Okay, so shockingly, that is not as sweet as the blackberry jam. You might be able to hear my dishwasher. It's going. I am glad I did the 2 cups, I think, because that has like the perfect balance of sweet and tartness. I can just taste that raspberry a little bit. If I didn't know there was raspberry in here, I would have no idea there's raspberry in here, but I know there's raspberry, so I can taste it. That is so good. I will obviously have Josh kind of tell me his thoughts because I want to make sure that, oh, that's a timer for the bread and it's obviously not done. The recipe said it would bake for about 30 minutes. I think it's going to take closer to an hour. Every oven's different, so that's why the thermometer is the best way to know if something's done or not. I'm filling up my canner. It's really not technically a canner, it's just a 30-quart pot with really hot tap water because these jars are pretty hot. I'm gonna wipe the rims of each jar. I got exactly 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 half pints and 5 pints. I didn't have any half jars. One of these though, I'm not gonna can. I'll just end up putting in my fridge because we don't have any jam in my fridge right now. I definitely have some strawberry jam on the rims, so I want to make sure I wipe the rims really well. And I'm going to check for any sort of like nicks or cracks or anything at the same time. I think this is full enough and I'm going to get it heating up. I just checked on my bread. It's getting pretty brown. I probably should have put that foil on the top as soon as I put that brioche bread in the oven. It just has so much richness to it that it's browning a lot quicker than just this plain loaf, I think. I made these ciabattas because I'm making roast beef. Right now, the roast beef's in my fridge. I haven't sliced into it yet. And 2 of them have already been eaten. So they are considered a winner, which is awesome. And this, again, is not technically a canner, a water bath canner. So I don't have a rack to put at the bottom. So I just put a towel down. I have this coily thing that I use sometimes that you can put at the bottom of a pot to can, but this pot, the bottom of it's way too wide that just a towel works best. If I use a smaller pot to water bath can in, my little coily thing works great. I got the canner full and I just took the internal temperature of this brioche and it is at 198. This needs to come to a boil and we'll boil it, I think, for 10 minutes. I'll have to look at the recipe, but I'm gonna get these out of the tins. Oh my goodness, look at this. Ah, I don't wanna smash it. Super hot. Oh, it smells like dessert. Woo, so hot. Oh, I cannot wait to try this. I think I'm gonna put a clean towel over the top so that the crust stays nice and tender. If you like more of a crispy crust, then just let it air dry. If you want a softer crumb on the outside crust, then just put a towel over when it's cooling and that will, oh, that's too hot to touch. We'll make it nice and tender. Our canner is now boiling, so I have set the time for the proper amount of time these need to process. I have warmed up our griddle and we are going to make our sandwiches now. My original thought is that this would be for brunch, but it is now late afternoon and we are heading to swim lessons here in just a minute, but we need a little bit of a snack for the road. Well, we'll try to eat it before we go because I think it's gonna be messy. but then I can make it again when we get home and have dessert. I'm so excited about this. I'm excited to cut into this. This is almost completely thawed. This is almost completely cooled. It is always best practice to let your bread cool completely before you cut into it, but we're cutting into it now. We're gonna make a couple grilled peanut butter sandwiches. Oh my goodness, can you even see the yellowness? It's too tender, I don't wanna actually smush it. But it's so soft. Surprisingly, it's not too sweet. I thought it was gonna be quite a bit sweeter than it is. So it's gonna be perfect with the jam. Let's make two. Oh yeah, it's still steaming. So in a perfect, ideal world, you would let this completely cool, but one, hot bread is too good not to eat it while it's hot. And two, we need to have a pistachio strawberry grilled sandwich before we head to swim lessons. My griddle is nice and hot. You can see this firmed up nicely. This jar of jelly I put into my fridge. It's still kind of warm though, it's not completely cooled down, but we've got a nice set to it. My bread is way too soft to butter, and my butter's refrigerator cold. So I am going to just butter my griddle. And we don't need to melt the cheese or anything like that. So I have, because there's no cheese in it, we just need to toast the bread. So I have this on low now, but I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit because we don't need to go low and slow on this. We just need to get it nice and toasted. And I'm gonna soak up all that extra butter that I put on this griddle by moving this around. This is basically dessert. Oh, see, we've already got some browning. Perfect. There's a good amount of sugar in this bread, so it should brown up nicely. I'm gonna cut it both ways depending on what your preference is. I like it in half or not cut at all. Can you see the yellowness of that? That is from my chicken eggs. I have to go give this to Josh and to my son. I'll be right back. I have made 2 winter recipes today. I don't know which order these are coming out in, but I made roast beef and ciabatta, homemade roast beef and ciabatta rolls that were fantastic. We're actually gonna come home from swim lessons and have that for dinner. And then this. I think a cute little someone's coming back for another half. I can taste, I use salted butter when I griddled them, and when you bite into it, that's the first taste I'm getting is that salted butter. And then I'm getting the sweetness, and then kind of like that savoriness of the pistachio. So good. Now for me, it's perfect sweetness. This is now gone for 10 minutes, so I can turn this off. And I'll just let this sit. I think Josh thinks it's delicious, but I just know his taste preference. He would prefer it a little bit on the sweeter side because this jam, I'm gonna taste this jam just by itself. It's not crazy sweet, and I didn't add any sugar to the pistachios. I could have probably added a little bit of sweetness to the pistachios. And that's plenty sweet on its own. And then it would have been more, I think, Josh's flavor profile, but for me, this sandwich has the perfect balance of sweet, salty, savory, not like savory like meaty, but just like the savoriness of the pistachios and sweet. So good. Now, this was quite the investment of time, and it was really time. That was a lot of kneading, and ingredients went into this. Absolutely a fun thing to do. Every once in a while, I would totally make this again, but Trader Joe's has a delicious brioche bread that if I want a quick brioche bread peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I'm probably just gonna head to Trader Joe's and get it. I think it's like $3.95 for a whole loaf. I'm not sure, I didn't do the math on it, but the effort that went into this with my machine kneading for as long as it did, this is kind of a fun thing to do, a novelty thing for me that I would do every once in a while, or maybe like for Christmas, make this and then turn this into French toast or French toast casserole for like a special occasion, but just on a time when I want to make a brioche peanut butter and jelly sandwich to say go to the zoo, or when we're on vacation. That's usually when I buy the brioche bread to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, is when we're on vacation. I'm probably just gonna pick it up from Trader Joe's because it is delicious. But this is delicious too. I'm gonna actually have another slice. I will link this recipe. I will link all the recipes down below if you wanna try them yourself. I guess I didn't technically follow a recipe for the pistachio butter, but I'm sure I can find one for you. I just wanna thank you for being here as we spent some time in the kitchen cooking up some fun things. This is going to sit for a good 15, 20 minutes with the lid off. So basically right before I leave to go into town, I will take these jars out, put them on a clean towel and let these jars just rest on a clean towel until tomorrow when I just rinse them off if they have anything on the outside that needs to be rinsed off, label them, and they will be ready to go for future delicious meals. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. If you want to watch some more videos, I'll pop them there. You can go enjoy between now and the next upload. Bye, friend.